on, everybody? Welcome to the Outside the Cockpit post-race show for the Styrian Grand Prix. My name is Sam Donzig. I'm joined by TJ and Ming. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing good.
Doing pretty well.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that race today? It was somewhat exciting, but somewhat underwhelming as well. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I'll say it's a warm. Yeah, I said before, it's a warm race. I'm not really overwhelmed by it, but I'm not really underwhelmed by it. Everything just kind of laid out. Midfield battle was fun, but nothing much, nothing too exciting I'll say that, but it's not too boring, I guess. But it does feel a bit underwhelming on that side. But it's a warm race for me.
It's a warm race. It's a new word. Yeah, no, I would agree with you somewhat. I mean, when I was watching the race and stuff, and as being a Red Bull fan, it was good to see Max Verstappen ahead. But at the same point, it's okay, when is Lewis going to catch him to make it exciting? Because it seems from start to finish, Max Verstappen was on a different level in Austria or at the Red Bull ring, because he was just showing an immense amount of pace there from start to finish. Lewis Hamilton was close at some points and stuff early on, but really it was just really all about Max Verstappen today. Yeah,
it was, and he had that, and he even had that brake by wire issue going off because the team diagnosed it was going on the curbs of the final corner down the pit straight.
Yeah.
But Lewis had his own issues with tires as well, which is what ended up costing him a potential win, and he couldn't really make much of a challenge in that respect. So, I mean, I found it pretty underwhelming that there wasn't really much action up at the front, because we would have liked to see that. We always love to see, title contenders going head-to-head, wheel-to-wheel. But there's no rain as well. We were hoping for the rain to hit during the session, really, and it just didn't come until just after the race. So that was a little disappointing, but you can't always have, thrilling races. You sometimes do have to have these sort of okay ones, but we could have used a little bit more excitement today.
We had the typical Formula One race,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm one person wins. There's some close battles in the midfield and, at some point and stuff, but I would agree with you again. And the one thing that was the only really exciting part that I think was really about the race was near the end, actually, when Perez was catching Bottas, right around the last few laps and stuff. And he was really close to, that's really where the action was in the majority part, because it seems like every person was running their own race, and every kind of driver, again, Lewis Hamilton had his issues and stuff, which was unfortunate for him, because that did end up eventually costing him the race win, like you said as well. But it's actually funny, because it's all these times and stuff we hear that Lewis Hamilton is always complaining about his tires, Bono, my tires are gone, but they never are. But it seems like this time there was actually some serious issues with that, which I thought was just oh, wow, that's new and stuff. We never really see that, but it was still interesting to see as well.
Yeah, you could see the blister on, I think it was the front right. It was, you could clearly see it, and that's really what ended up costing him any chance of gaining ground.
No, exactly, yeah. Alrighty. Let's talk about Max Verstappen today, because he had a masterclass of a drive. I don't say so myself, not to be biased or not, but as a Red Bull fan, as a Max Verstappen fan, I think he had a really good drive from start to finish. He was in his own class, had a strong pace, was really comfortable with the car. Again, he had some issues throughout the race, but he managed them really well. He managed the tires really well. The team did a great job in the pits and stuff with the quick pit stop. It was about 0.2 seconds faster than Lewis Hamilton's pit stop, which was a crucial difference there in getting out in front of him. Would you agree? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. The quick pits, the quick stops, Red Bull are generally known for that now. They've got some of the fastest pit stops this season, right? So it's really, really great to see, obviously, a different team winning, but you don't want, the same team winning over and over and over again. And that's why, we've grown so, at least I've grown so sick of Mercedes winning all the time. And now we have a second team fighting for the championship as well. But now they've won 4 in a row, and 3 of them have come from Max Verstappen. Mm-hmm. So, definitely you can't fault him for this drive. It was fantastic, even with the brake-by-wire issue. But if anything, it puts the pressure even more on Mercedes now, especially on Lewis Hamilton, to respond, because we have another race at the same track this upcoming weekend now. So, and then we head back to Silverstone, where Verstappen again won one of the races there last year. So Mercedes really needs to up their game, and Red Bull, they're clearly on the front foot, and we clearly saw that it could have been a double podium for them as well.
No, 100%, yeah. And to add on to your point about that with Mercedes struggles and stuff, it's like in the post race, Lewis Hamilton said, we need to figure out something. We need to clearly make an upgrade somewhere because Red Bull has more speed. They just are faster. That was the straight up fact of the case. And it was really interesting to Lewis be very candid and stuff. Obviously, he is very critical of the team at some points and stuff. We win as a team, we lose as a team. And I think it's good and important for him to realize and say, yep, we clearly need to do something because we just don't have the pace as we did a couple of races ago compared to the Spanish Grand Prix. Because since the Spanish Grand Prix, that's the last time he's won. And it's the first time, I think, since before even 2014, where Mercedes where they've gone without 4 straight wins in a row, or 4 straight races without a race win, which I think is just really interesting as well to see what Mercedes has done. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk. Any thoughts on this, Min?
I'll say, yeah, I'm gonna miss the inhuman pit stop because with the new rules changes, it's gonna be a bit bonkers. But yeah, we're masterclass driving for Max, and I agree with that. And even with the brake by wide, I think the wind direction changes as well. And also, this is a very mountainous racetrack as well, so it's really windy and very the wind's very unpredictable. So it's something that I think Red Bull has been really good at. If you look at Brazil and look at Mexico, so this is a good track, and it just really show that. I think that just got it for Perez when he couldn't with his pit stop and couldn't be in the podium. But it is some of the more. So it's just kind of it's going to be a bit of a struggle for Mercedes too, because even at the track that they're supposed to be good at, Red Bull can pull a challenge, and now they're going to the mountainous race with that, and then that's why it's the Mexico Grand Prix coming up too. So
definitely
it'll be a challenge for them.
No, exactly. But speaking about Mercedes as well, but let's talk about Valtteri Bottas. Not again, Lewis Hamilton had a great race, but again, a bit underwhelming compared to his standards. But Valtteri Bottas, in my mind, I think he really did well. He showed up, he performed, got 3rd place, got the most amount as he could out of the car, scored a good amount of points for Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship. Do you think that if Valtteri Bottas continues these strong performances of at least getting 3rd or finishing on the podium, that he'll keep his seat? Or do you think that still George Russell could get that seat for 2022? Just and then we talk about his performance in the race as well. Yeah,
I feel like he has I think Bottas 2.0 is having good updates. He's been very very vocal about what's going on. He's been very angry about things.
Yes, he has. Yes.
But it's just I hope that his luck is getting better too, because I do really wish that he would be able to stay. His performance has been solid. I think he's not the best driver in the rain, as you can see in Imola or last year Turkey, and then maybe street circuit as well. Because if you see, even street circuits like Monaco, it was really 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 good until that pit stop, and I think Baku, which is his worst performance in a dry track in the entire season. And then, so I think that it's no surprise he's been doing well. It's just that he just have no luck, and even in look at qualifying, he qualified 2nd, very very solid, and even Hamilton is kind of choked up a bit at the end, make him 3rd. But I hope that he's getting luckier, and then also that hope he gets more support from the team too, because he's been more confident a bit after French and everything. I think there's more communication, there's more let's get them, there's more some comments kind of more encouraging for him instead of just people just backstabbing him in the back, something like that. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would agree with you totally. I think Valtteri Bottas has done a very good job in terms of when you look at the season as a whole. He's just had very unlucky moments that people like to pick out and stuff, and he struggled there, or these are the issues there. It's okay. These are just unlucky moments that just happened to him, and it was very unfortunate because if you just change to a what if? Okay, what if Valtteri didn't get stuck in the pits? Then where would he have finished at Monaco? How would the championship be different? Where would he be Would he be battling with Perez for 3rd in the championship? Because right now Perez is kind of sitting nice and 3rd there. In a solid position, which is helping Red Bull lead the Constructors' Championship. What are your thoughts on this, DJ?
Yeah, like you guys said, he had a rough patch, and all of a sudden people were sort of doubting his place in the team, especially with George Russell doing so well throughout the season, and especially today. He was so close to points. He was in 8th at one point.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Then mechanical issues really forced him out. And I mean, you could see it afterwards. He was so dejected, as was everyone in Williams, and even I was really sad. He could have done so well today, especially with the lack of action. He could very well have ended up scoring good points, and it would have been really, really great to see. But it's just it's just racing. These things that happen, and you could hear it on the radio as well. They said that they were managing a mechanical issue, and then he had to come in a couple times for them to sort of raise the pressure in the car, the pneumatic pressure, and then he ended up stopping. So it definitely was a shame. But I mean, yes, Bottas is having a bad run of form, and yes, this was a nice way to respond to questions about his seat for next year. But it's too soon, I think, to make a call. It's just a bad run of form. These things happen, So it'll have to. I mean, I do hope Russell gets the seat because it would be great to see him. All the hard work he's done at Williams, all the suffering he's had to go through. It would be great to see it pay off and him get a full-time seat instead of just a one-off appearance at Bahrain 2 last year. But we need to see a few more races, and there was a whole thing about an announcement at Silverstone. It would be surprising if they made the call this early in the season, but this was definitely an improved performance from Valtteri Bottas, and hopefully for his sake he can continue this form over the next few races.
Yeah, and to add on to your point, I would agree with you. I think you need to have a large sample size because I think the biggest mistake is when you look back at 2019, Red Bull made a big mistake where they're like, okay, we're dropping Pierre Gasly, we're going to put Alex Albon in there. Alex Albon was not ready for that second seat. He might have been doing well in Toro Rosso, but to go from Toro Rosso to now Red Bull to that second seat to be pushed up and okay, you got to compete with Max right away. It's very tough to do that. So I think George Russell, as much as he's, as all the fans, it's it'd be great for him to go to Mercedes. Well, if he goes to Mercedes, he's going to be expected to deliver week in, week out, like Lewis Hamilton, like Valtteri Bottas. It's a big step up from Williams, who are technically somewhat at the back of the grid, to Mercedes, who are somewhat in the front with Red Bull as well. Granted, pace in between, Red Bull is looking pretty fast this year in terms of their pace, but 2022 is a different year. So when you take that into consideration, Valtteri Bottas, still is a very solid second driver. You know why? Because he doesn't he is aggressive, but he doesn't challenge Lewis enough where they have to step in and then it becomes he's not Nico Rosberg where he's going to push him to the limit where it's going to create issues for the team. Obviously there's internal issues where he doesn't get listened to, and that's hopefully getting dealt with and getting better, because if they're able to do that, if they're able to open up a communication and streamline communication between Valtteri Bottas and the rest of the team to make it, a safe space or somewhere where he's comfortable going and say, hey, this is what needs to be fixed so that we can, be more competitive. And then the team goes, yes, we will do that so that you can be more competitive. That would be great to see, because Valtteri Bottas is a great personality in Formula One, and I'm sure he'll stay in Formula One. But again, George Russell still showing a lot of talent. He's had a lot of great string of races the past few weeks, like P12 in France, was supposed to be probably PA here. So, but yeah.
Yeah, but also looking into the situation too, right? In the last few years, is that Valtteri Bottas is consistent enough for Mercedes to win the Constructors' Championship too. So
exactly.
If he's pulling an Albon, and he's this race when he going almost into top 4, and the other one he'll go to even out of the points, that this is not really help solidify that Constructors' Championship. Even right now, even if Max Verstappen, I don't want to jinx it, but in the worst dark timeline, he couldn't win the World Championship. But he and Perez was also tag team to get that. Maybe they can get that Constructor Championship, but Lewis can win the World Championship, something like that. But Bottas has been like that. I think the last few races just kind of show a bit slacking, not slacking off, but a few bad lucks and a lot of DNF, a lot of points didn't go off from Mercedes. Is the reason why Red Bull is pulling away from the Constructor Championship ish. But now they're getting back on track, which is something that I think that people really undermine, because people really want to see another Nico Rosberg and Hamilton era, which is awesome for the spectator, but it's a nightmare for the team itself, right? So
exactly
something like that. And I feel that too, because I've been looking at after Imola and how George Russell reacts after the crash of it, and I feel like George Russell is a bit more hot-headed, it's a bit hot-headed young, and he's very talented, really talented, but he's also a bit hot-headed as well, and he's really dragging. And I don't know if he would be. I would love to see him in the Mercedes, but it would be, I don't know if Mercedes will take that risk. Like seeing like George Russell could be a direct competitor to his own teammates rather than like a supporting teammate. So that's something that I think Bottas has been really shown that he's supportive, he's willing to help the team and be there for Lewis Hamilton. I know that he's not. Sometimes he just kind of jokes like, "Oh yeah, I'm 2.0. I want to be the person," but like he's still there for the team. So lots of things to see, and then hopefully we can get some updates soon because Silverstone's coming up.
Yeah, maybe Valtteri Bottas gets another update soon. We can continue to update even further. Let's talk about this battle between Mercedes versus Red Bull. I know we kind of hinted at it early, but let's kind of take a little bit of a deeper dive into it. Do you think that right now, as of the right moment, obviously Red Bull has the upper foot here, like the upper hand. They're going into races and stuff, and they've won in France. Do you think that Red Bull has a very strong chance at winning the Constructors' Championship? And what does Mercedes need to do to kind of put their foot back in front and stuff and to take the lead of the championship?
Well, I mean, definitely Red Bull has the upper hand. They've been beating Mercedes at typical Mercedes strongholds. But, I mean, Mercedes just needs to just get in there, and they need to find some they need to unlock some performance because it was during the race where it was made clear where Hamilton lost 0.2 of a second to Verstappen down the straights. So they need something more power. They need better aero. They need something to just get them back in the fight because right now they're not really there. Last 4 races have been all Red Bull, and yes, you can throw Baku in the mix as well. And had Hamilton not made that mistake off the restart in the 2-lap shootout, he might have won the race, and he probably would have won the race had he not somehow reactivated the brake magic. But they need to just get back in it, and whether the new pit stop rules will hinder Red Bull and how they make their progress during races, we'll have to see. I mean, it is being implemented at Hungary, which is typical strategy dominated race and high downforce and not much overtaking. So the pit stops will genuinely play a big role in deciding the outcome of that race. So we'll at least get some information to see how the new rules are affecting the racing. But Mercedes just need to unlock something. They're a well-oiled machine. They know what works. They know what doesn't. They have 7 consecutive championships. So for them, it's just about they just have to keep on going because they're still in the fight technically. They just have to find something. They just need to unlock something.
No, exactly. I would agree with you. And I think the biggest thing with Mercedes, what they really need to do is they just need to sit down and debrief and just they can figure it out. They're all really smart people. They've won, like you said, TJ, they've won multiple drivers and constructors world champions. I think they're just in a bit of a rut. They're like, because Red Bull is coming out so strong, and they're like, we don't know how to counterattack, really. We don't really know. I think the biggest thing is they first need to identify what their biggest problem is, which is clearly pace. But I think then once they do this, like, okay, how do we fix the problem then? Because that's you can easily identify a problem, but if you can't fix it, then you can't really do anything to mend the issue and to become, the better team again. So I think in that mind, what Mercedes really needs to do is they need to listen to both drivers, especially Valtteri and Lewis, and come together and okay, do we need more downforce? Like, what tracks are we going to? Again, because they have Silverstone coming up after Austria. And then you said Hungary as well with not a lot of overtaking, a heavy strategy. So maybe they need to take a look at the different strategy options that they have for Hungary coming up. Because we saw in Hungary 2019, they did a really good job with Max Verstappen, where they pitted Lewis twice, and then they came out in fresher tires, and they ended up winning the race. So you might see something similar to that. But I just think that, they first have to identify the problem, fix it, and then from there they can kind of just mend the issue, which we don't really know what it is, like from the outsiders and stuff. It could be an internal thing, something really small, something major. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this, Ming?
I would say, they've shown that they have better plans than Red Bull here and there in the first few races. Like Barcelona is one of them, and even the first Bahrain was absolutely like a masterclass strategy too. If Max Verstappen didn't screw up that but yeah, it's like a big battle of like strategy and counter strategies. I think that they just kind of do a reverse, like an Uno reverse card for the last few races. Looking at French Grand Prix, and just like they're going to like the more defensive side now because they were a bit taking risk, like a bit risk. I think just like try to hold off the tire, probably pray that they don't catch up, or even like this today's race when they try to pit just for the fastest lap because they know they couldn't catch with Max Verstappen anymore. So I think they're going towards that like more secure like defensive style, and I think going forward I think it'd be taking a bit more risks. I guess I don't want to say like risk, but like necessary risk. I don't want to be like go crazy or anything like that or go ham. No pun intended. But so I think that they have the plan, but I think that this is need more coordination. We probably talk more to the drivers because looking at Lewis Hamilton as well as Bottas in the French Grand Prix, they are frustrated with that strategy and going here. I think that they are showing that they are a bit inferior in terms of upgrades compared to Red Bull. Maybe the Hungarian Grand Prix pit strategy could change the things around, but also like we are not even. Are we halfway there? I think we're almost halfway through the race too, right? I think,
yeah, like for the season and stuff, or are you talking about like for the season?
The whole world champion.
Yeah, I think we're on round 8, so we still have a couple more before the summer break. So I think
by Zandvoort, which is Netherlands, that's why we reached the halfway point. So it's like, I think 2017 Ferrari was like going crazy the first 9 races, and then after that it's just Mercedes, and then even 2018 good competition until like Germany Grand Prix when
battle.
So like it still has a lot of things to do. I think hopefully Red Bull didn't get like psych office because they've been winning a lot, but the battle is still really high. It's just not even halfway there yet. So hopefully that could happen. Hopefully, I don't know, the Canadian Grand Prix may be coming back for some reason. So we'll see.
Maybe, hopefully, we'll see. Maybe in the fall.
Hey, we're doing well in terms of
that's the dream. Yeah,
vaccine, right? So
that's true. All right, let's talk about this battle of the midfield that we had today and stuff between McLaren and versus Ferrari. And in terms of, I guess you could probably maybe put an AlphaTauri, but mostly really it's just McLaren versus Ferrari at this current moment. What are your thoughts on really how this battle is going for the midfield so far? And do you think that Ferrari can bounce back to get closer to McLaren, or is McLaren kind of have that third place set in stone and stuff?
Well, it needs. If McLaren are to have like put a genuine lock on third place, they need Daniel Ricciardo in the fight more often, and he was today. So, for the most part. So it wasn't. He was there for a little bit, but then he sort of dropped off. He has been getting good points recently, but it's all been about Lando Norris. And you can sort of give the excuse that yes, he was in a new team, he was struggling to perform early on, and fair enough. But he has been getting good points recently. So until Daniel Ricciardo just helps out Lando Norris more, Ferrari will always be in the fight because Carlos Sainz has gotten on top of that Ferrari, or at least it seems like he has. And last weekend you can look at it as a one-off because they didn't understand what happened, and today they were on the back foot again, but then they came back brilliantly. Daniel Ricciardo, he didn't really perform at the level that McLaren need him to. So until he can do that, it's always going to be Ferrari will always be within a chance of snatching third from McLaren, and it's only 12 points between the two teams now that with Ferrari's big haul today as well. So there needs to be something more in this fight between these two teams for us to have a genuinely clearer picture.
I would definitely agree. I think Daniel Ricciardo, again, even you could make the argument like, oh, he's at a new team. He's like, no, and like the first 6 races, you're at your new team. The next 2 and stuff, like Sergio Perez is starting to figure out his role at Red Bull and starting to perform. So Daniel Ricciardo kind of needs to start, and he's slowly getting to the past 4 races. He hasn't really had great performances on Saturday in qualifying, which has really hurt his chances in the race. But in general, when you look at the performances from like this weekend, from today and in past and stuff, Daniel Ricciardo needs to step up because he is that, like, not saying supposed second driver, but really it's so far just been Lando Norris and a little bit of Daniel Ricciardo been helping them really haul them like points and stuff to stay ahead of Ferrari. But Ferrari's slowly creeping back up with, good performances and good amount of haul points, like you said today, TJ, from Austria for the Styrian Grand Prix, as it's known as, because it's the doubleheader. But no, exactly with that point as well. It's like if Daniel Ricciardo can't perform, up to McLaren standards, it was like, hey, like, we're paying you this much, and like, you're supposed to be this guy, to be forming. Not saying anything's going to change, but we've seen Daniel Ricciardo move teams very, like, fluidly over the past number of years. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if McLaren's like at the end of the season, it's like, hey, we had a disappointing season. Like we thought we were expecting more from you, and we just didn't get it. But if Lando Norris continues to succeed and continues to do well, because he finished fifth today or something like that, I think it was. Or he was like, not exactly sure where he finished, but if he finished high up compared to Daniel Ricciardo. So in terms of that aspect, if he continues to do well and Daniel Ricciardo still to struggle, then it's like, okay, what needs to be done to fix that? Because then Ferrari does have that chance to snatch third in the Constructors' Championship. So.
Yeah, Lando Norris finished fifth today, and Ricciardo he finished 13th.
Yeah,
so,
13th. Yeah.
I mean, yes, he's had his struggles on Saturdays, failed to get into Q3 from time to time, and he has gotten good points throughout his time at McLaren. But they need more. They need him to be finishing. If Lando Norris is finishing fifth, they need him to finish sixth, and he hasn't really been doing that as often as McLaren want. And yes, Lando's has had two podiums, and they're not expecting Ricciardo to, be as comfortable as Lando is, or maybe get podiums every now and then and get great points. But they need more than what he's doing right now. And like you said, he's not going to be like I do feel that he will be there next season. So there's no time to push it's not time to push the panic button yet at McLaren, but. Their driver academy, Lando Norris came from their driver academy, and McLaren's driver academy has been very successful in unearthing great talents. Lando Norris, your Lewis Hamiltons, Kevin Magnussen as well. So, their driver academy, they only have one member, and he's in karting. So, if they are to make a change, and I'm not saying they do because they don't. If they were to make a change, they should probably start investing more in their driver academy instead of looking elsewhere. They should start, and this doesn't just apply to McLaren, but it applies to every team. And some teams may not have enough money to start a driver academy, and fair enough, but the more powerful teams, the wealthier teams, the more powerful teams, they should invest in younger drivers and, integrate them into the team in order to have genuine success in the future.
And again, sorry to cut you off, man, but one last point, and like we can talk about it as well, is like if you look at Mercedes and stuff, they have like a big driver academy between Esteban Ocon, George Russell, other drivers as well. They have Stoffel Van Dorn is potentially still in the, or he wasn't part of the Mercedes driver academy at one point. I don't know if he still is or not, but again, when you look at that,
he was with McLaren for.
Oh, sorry, he was with McLaren and stuff. Yeah, I know that. I thought he was part of the Mercedes. So, anyways, in terms of that point, so when you look at Mercedes obviously been really successful. So they have a great drivers academy. So. They have infrastructure there. Again, they're a really, successful team. They have a big budget. So like you said as well, the big budget teams have the money for this because if for whatever reason Lewis Hamilton retires in a couple of years or Valtteri Bottas moves on, they have this young George Russell, perfect talent in like prime position in his prime of his career. Slot him into Mercedes, into the driver's seat. And, you can continue to dominate and win world championships and stuff or compete at the front. But again, with other teams like that, and I highly doubt, I don't know, I don't see Daniel Ricciardo leaving after one season, maybe after 2 or 3, and it's still not work. But again, I feel like McLaren is going to be his home for the rest of his career. I think that's where it's going to be. If he continues to struggle and McLaren clearly wants to make a change, they do need to add infrastructure there to build up because they don't want to just go elsewhere in the grid and find other drivers. Because yes, there are some younger drivers out there. like, there is a Pierre Gasly who's out there that could maybe make a move to McLaren potentially if, McLaren continues to do well with their development of 2022 and proceeds to, to show up in the top points as well. So I just wanted to add to that. Any other final thoughts, Ming, on this topic?
I'll say Daniel Ricciardo has a very, very unfortunate weekend this weekend because he for his first lap was phenomenal. He was getting 4 places, and then his car has some engine problem, power problem, and then he has to move back down to where he started. So I feel like it's like the real battle we see here is Leclerc and Carlos Sainz trying to catch up with Lando, and he needs Ricciardo to be there helping him getting points, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it's just like the racetrack definitely like Baku has I think it's some of the races that the Ferraris really struggle on straights. That's when McLaren's really dominate. This track is supposed to be like the track that McLaren should be dominating the midfield battle, but seeing what ended up with a lot of power unit problem that really affected Ricciardo's race. So I think it's kind of like this is an example of like a very wasted opportunities from Ricciardo, and I think that he will get back to his feet soon, and things will be better. But he's been performing well on Sunday, but he's been performing terribly on Saturday. So it's just a crazy time, But also, this is a Styrian Grand Prix. Last Styrian Grand Prix was pretty boring too, so maybe the Austrian Grand Prix will probably be better next week. So we'll see.
Yeah, so I think with the last year at the Austrian Grand Prix, Lando Norris got his debut podium as well. So maybe we'll see someone new get their debut podium as well for, a set team. Maybe you might see, I'm trying to think what current driver that hasn't had a podium, I guess, maybe I want to say like a whole prediction, but like maybe we'll see like Yuki Tsunoda up there or like someone like that or because I feel like most of the drivers who have driven like at least have one podium, someone who's making their debut podium. But that is going to do it for our show today. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out theintermissionsports.com for more content. We'll be back later this week with our pre-race show for the Austrian Grand Prix, part of the doubleheader. And I think we got a week in between before the Silverstone Grand Prix, but that pretty much finals off the triple header, 3 straight weeks of Formula One. Gotta love it, right? I wish Formula One was every weekend, but anyways, peace out. Have a nice day, everyone.
See ya.